Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to sit here and look at the snow and catch up in my journal. I'm grateful for these chairs. Help me out when my back isn't any good. Thank you for this beautiful snowstorm to watch, even though there's no church today. Please help us to enjoy the day. Help me to notice the promptings and to follow them. Thank you for the blessings of the relationships that we have in our lives. Help us to do the best good in the world. And we're very grateful to Thee for all the blessings that Thou hast given us. We're grateful for our warm homes, for our warm clothing, for our transportation, for our bodies that work sometimes better than others, for the things that we're able to do, for the creative ideas in our minds. Thank you for the potential that we have to become like who we were before we came here, only with wisdom. Thank you for all the wisdom I've gained from the times I've messed up. Thank you for accepting me as I am, with forgiveness to follow me along. Help me always to think of Thee and be humble and eager to change my ways, to be better, to be able to hear the promptings better. So grateful for the gospel, so grateful for Jesus Christ, so grateful for all the scriptures that have been given. Help me to be kind to people, to have common courtesy. Help me to always be kind to Willem, and to appreciate all the things that he's done for me and continues to do. And thank you for medication that helps us to feel better than we felt before we took it. Oh, I'm so grateful to Thee for abiding with us. And we ask that Thou will keep us from harm, protect us from the weather, from ourselves, from others. Help us not to have accidents, and help us to avoid trials that we don't need to go through. And we're so grateful for the relationships that we have with children. Help us to protect them and to help them grow and be healthy and mature people. Thank you so much for surrounding us with grandchildren. They're such a blessing in our lives. And give us somebody to take care of. And these things we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. It's nice watching the snow come down. It's really fine today. So, I have a tendency to not write in my journal sometimes. Like yesterday, I started out the day Saturday, January. That's as far as I got. Because when there's so much activity around, I had the grandchildren for a couple days. It was very nice to be around them. They're such wonderful people. I had one on the phone wanting me to play Minecraft, and I had two here was very sweet to be with them. It's nice to watch them love you back, you know? To grow and show that love for you. So, I usually start my journal entries with the date. Who knows what it is? Is it the 27th now? Best way to find out. Is to go back to the last date. And see what day that was. I wrote a lot on Friday. Thursday was the 26th. And Friday must have been the 27th. Friday, 27th of January, 2023. You know, I can see that my memory, my short-term memory, is really having problems. So that was Friday, the 27th. So Saturday was the 28th, 2023. Okay. So I took my pill this morning. I take Celexa, which is citalopram. And I take it because it helps me not to get depressed. I have a tendency toward depression. But citalopram keeps me happy, content. I think the happiness and joy is just because of who I am and the way I look at life. It won't change you that substantially. I really love this view. It's so nice. I've shown you this view. And now, yesterday, the wind blew a lot. And it knocked all the snow off of my trees right out here. My 5 trees with the 2 elms. My 5 spruce trees. So I think that they are all, there's one white spruce, which is very prickly and smells like cat pee. Why do people like that, especially for Christmas? And what's the other spruces? There's white and red and black. Black spruce and white spruce look very similar. They're very tall and skinny. Black spruce, when you look at it, it's quite dark. White spruce get mistaken for black spruce. Not sure why. These are not black spruce. This is a red white spruce. So maybe these are red spruce, and I think there's a balsam down there too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I think there's another one down there which is 6. 1, 2. Is there another one in there? So there's 6 right here. I would turn it around and show you, but I had so much trouble getting this thing on there. But it's now sticking to the glass, and you are in it. Perfect. Now these things move too. Where do they go? There's so many parts to this thing. Oh, this is squeezy stuff. Whatever. So I was taking my pills this morning, and then I saw the chamomile and thought, I'm going to try that on all my joints because everything was hurting. And you know, my joints are not all hurting anymore. I ate rice cakes last night, lots of rice cakes with lettuce and with liverwurst. Liverwurst is really good for you, you know, it's got lots of vitamins and iron. Vitamins, I don't know about. I think it's good for you, but you know, the liver is the filter of all the toxins. Is it really good for you, or is it the storage place of toxins? I don't know. You can get so confused on all that stuff, right? Anyway, so this morning I was in the bathroom drinking my water, and I did the trauma meal, and then I was gonna be done, and I saw my pills, and I went to take my pill, and I wasn't sure if I had already taken it, but my mouth was wet like I had drunk water. How can I be so absent-minded that I don't even notice when I'm taking my pill? I should have a chart now. I used to have a chart, and I would check things off on the chart every day to make sure I had done all these things. They were simple things like pray, say the scriptures. I should have on there, take my pill. Good morning, Uma. What did you say? Greetings, beautiful. You don't have snow where you are, do you? Snow is the most wonderful part of winter. Even if you have to go out and shovel it off and drive, you know, like it's such an adventure. You really have to pay attention to what you're doing. You have to pay attention to the road. If you have snow in your life, you really should watch videos, accident videos. A pill holder with days of the week. Ah, yes, good idea. Oh, you do have snow. I forget where you are. You're in the southwest? Are you in New Mexico? I don't know. Should have my book close to here. This is my new spot. So I have this bookcase here with my grandfather's books in it. I also have things, so this is a good spot for things I want to read, or just for looking through them, like this little pocket Aristotle. A most unusual anthology containing selections from the Nicomachean Ethics, Politics, Poetics, and other major works. Aristotle's creation of a new disciple of thought and his firm establishment of the essential lines remaining among the lasting achievements of the human mind. It may be doubled at any other if any other thing. Oh, you know what I want to read? I want to read Double Your Energy and Live Without Fatigue. Let's get that book off the shelf. Maybe we should read it together. But you know, then I start all these books and I really finish them. And where is it? Hey, it's not in its place. Hey. Oh, it's down here. All right. Oh, hello, Kitty. Would you like to come back inside? What about those squirrels out there, huh? Is that neat? Did you catch a squirrel? That'll feed you for a while. All right. So this book, people ask me why I am so energetic. This is where it came from. When I was young, I don't know how old I would have been, I started reading this book. Over 40,000 copies in print. That was a long time ago. So it's by Marjorie Wilson, one of the nation's best-known counselors on joyous living, achieving a well-adjusted personality and the art of etiquette, is author of 10 previous books, including The Woman You Want to Be, Your Personality and God, Believe in Yourself, and I Found My Way. Today she lives near Los Angeles and travels extensively on lecture tours. Of course, now that today is, this is an old book. This was my mother's book, and she gave it to me. But I've got 5 copies now because it's such a good book. The 8th printing was in 1964, so it was copyrighted in 1961. So let's read about what the book is about. Ever wish you could double your energy and live without fatigue? You can. The book shows you how. Marjorie Wilson says that fatigue is not imaginary. It's a very real condition, even when its causes are in the mind. The more you analyze, the more you realize that energy is ever present, ever available, and subject to your personal will. Here the subject is fully explored. You will learn what fatigue is, where it comes from, how to tap hidden sources of energy quickly and easily, and how to control habits and turn tension into useful creative channels. How it works. What is the secret of this amazing plan that doubles energy and dissipates fatigue? How can it accomplish so much for so many in so short a time? The answer is this. It shows you how to tap your inner reserve of power that you have available. It shows you how to get immediate help through deep breathing, good posture, and proper diet. How to take the personal energy meter test and be guided by its results. How to adjust your mental attitude and rise above physical handicaps. It explains why it is important for you not to relax out of a situation, but into one. How never to be argued into listlessness by a calendar or a clock or another's idea of what or how things happen. It shows you how to focus energy on the important things in life, have more leisure time, and enjoy it. Here, too, you can identify. Okay, I just spaced out. I started thinking of a friend who I should send this to, who she always gets overwhelmed because the calendar is full for the week, and every day she has things to do, and she gets exhausted just contemplating her week. A calendar, a clock, or another's idea of what or how things happen. It shows you how to focus energy on the important things in life, have more leisure time, and enjoy it. Here, too, you can identify your own strength or weakness with the examples of others who have found dramatic results from this amazing new energy plan. If stress and strain that come from fear, guilt, discord at work or at home are depleting your energy, if fatigue is robbing you of the opportunity to enjoy a rich, full, vibrant life, here is the key to a fresh new adventure in living. Begin now to enjoy each new day with a continuous flow of natural energy. Now, one example she gives in this book is, I'll put the book like that so you can see it while I'm talking about it. One thing she says is that when you get a new idea, actually she doesn't really say it that way, but she says, like, for instance, if you're tired and everything is, and then you get an idea of like going out, somebody invites you over, and suddenly you have energy. Yes, okay, I'm gonna go. Whereas a moment before you had no energy at all, you were just depleted. How is that possible? What are the mechanics behind that? Well, it shows that energy is linked to our thoughts, first of all. Our looking forward to something gives us enough energy to get up and do stuff. Now, it's true that as we age, we have more fatigue. And less energy at times. Like lately, it was so cool when the grandchildren were here. I lay down on the bed with them and we just chatted, and it was it was so awesome because my back is so happy when I lie down. My tailbone is happy when I lie down. But I have such an aversion to lying down. It's like giving up. And so I'm now, my body is now at an age or stage where I need to change that way of thinking, that laying down is not giving up, but it is reviving myself. There was a great prophet who used to lay down and have a nap for 5 minutes. And I think he would lay on his desk or on the floor in his office, and he would tell his secretary to wake him up in 5 minutes. And what do you think you could accomplish in sleeping for 5 minutes? But he was like in his 90s, and he was traveling the world. How is it possible? There was one little anecdote that he scolded his secretary for letting him sleep for longer than 5 minutes. I've always felt that every minute counts, that wasting minutes is a crime. It's a real bad thing to waste time. I waste a lot of time now watching silly things on television. Not silly funny, but silly unimportant things. I watch a lot of political things now. I shouldn't spend time with that, I suppose, but it's very interesting to see what passes for good and what things get overlooked. Once upon a time, there was a definite difference between right and wrong, good and evil. And now the lines are so blurred. Bad is embraced as good. People that lie and cheat and steal and are heroes. Even murderers become heroes. It's such a weird world. And it used to be that when a court decided something, that was the final say, and so that was the justice was meted out accurately. If a court finds that this is wrong, it's wrong, or that this law has been breached, then it has. And now courts are ridiculed and judges are picked out, and this judge is a bad judge. If he found that this verdict, then he was a bad judge. And there's no longer a higher authority in those things. So you really have to be in touch with God to be able to discern good from bad and right from wrong. And all the people that say they are good are not necessarily good. And it's easy to say, oh, well, can overlook these bad things a person does because there are other good things that they do. But our standards of who we follow, who our examples are, they need to be upstanding, obeying the laws, caring about other people, common courtesy. Saying bad things about people is always wrong. It always leads to bad things. There are some truths, and you can't alter those truths because society changes what it thinks. But we've all seen where the legal system is ridiculed. Oh, well, it was thrown out of court for these stupid reasons. Well, there are laws, and things have to meet up with a certain standard to be valid. in order to be in a court. And you can't dismiss the things that are, it's just such a weird world out there. Anyway, but I marvel at it. And so I watch it because maybe it's the wow effect. Can you believe? I don't know. I'm going to pull this wire through the door a little bit better because the snow is getting heavy out there. You're getting a different view because you're on the door. There we go. All right. All right, so let's look at the back of this. This book shows you how to live with vigor and enjoyment. How to double your energy and live without fatigue. One thing, if you focus on the positive, it energizes you. See, I was just focusing on the negative about what's happening out there in the world. If you focus on the positive, it's really different than if you focus on the negative. How to rid yourself of emotional burdens. A lot of us are really bogged down by emotional burdens. So what are some of those burdens? Blame, guilt, loss, or feeling of loss. Why tension is necessary to every thought and act. It's like a I can't remember words anymore. Is this a problem? Like, is this dementia? Or is it just now aphasia is getting a little worse? Anyway, it's like a slingshot or a rubber band. You have to pull the slingshot tension to get it to go zooming effortlessly over. Or a bow and arrow. You have to pull to get it to go. Now, I don't know how that is in our actual functioning. Why tension is necessary to every thought and act. Well, you know, your muscles pull. And do you know that if you keep pulling, you get tired. But if you pull and stop, you can do that for a long time. Repetitive actions, like the yin and the yang, or the pulling and the releasing, which is kind of, like the effort of doing something and then stopping, like little breaks. Breaks are very good. I don't advocate we should keep going. And I have chairs all over my world to prove it. Everywhere I go, I sit. I get up, I do something, and I sit. I do something, and I sit. There's two things that are good about that. One is that when you sit, I'm usually outside, you take in your surroundings, and you get to really appreciate them. But then as you sit there, I find that I get inspired to get up and change that thing over there, and then I come back and sit. Or I'll just do a few things until I have run out of energy, and so my muscles start to rebel, and then I sit. And I try and sit long enough that I completely relax until all the pain is gone. And then I do something again. And that's my life. So right now, this morning, I got up, I prayed, I looked outside, and I watched two squirrels out there. They were finding the deer feed under the snow. And this cat is quite a hunter. And I don't want him to deplete the population of birds. Where are you? Hi. Oh, you're trying to get out the door, are you? Oh, you're scratching your feet on my wood. Good job. Hi, you want to come up? Up you go. Kitty, kitty. Hey, you want to see what's in my pocket? Here we go. Ta-da! you know why it's in my pocket? Not just because I like collecting things in my pocket, but when it's in my pocket, which is a big long pocket, like a muff. You remember a muff? Is that what it's called, a muff? No, a muff is something around your face, isn't it? Anyway, so in my pocket, I spread it out with my fingers. It's not quite even. If I spread it out with my fingers, it's probably not thick enough. It would probably be best if I opened this up and I sewed this with a basting stitch to keep this one on one side, and then I put another one on the other side so I can slip my hands in. Do you remember what that was called? When you have, I mean, sometimes they used to just be this item. It was circular and you would put your hands in. I don't remember if it had a string around it to keep it there, or maybe not. Anyway, that's what's in my pocket. Hey, look, a credit card. That's not supposed to be in there. But I got gas, so that's where things end up after I get gas. I took my pill this morning. I think I may have taken my pill twice. Are you trying to scratch your way out the door, or just let me know? But it's so much snow out there, you really don't want to go out that door, you know. I blew the floor last night. You know, I've got this blower, and I opened the door, the bedroom door to the outside, and I blew him a pathway so we can get to the edge of the deck and go under the deck where there's no snow. It's an enormous deck. It's 2,000 square feet. I know I'm a little bit over the top, but it gives me a flat place to go for walks. I can walk around my deck over and over and over, and I can turn the other way. I sometimes take my, hi Jeannie. Hey, have you been here recently and just not spoken up? I miss you guys. I miss you when you're not here. I really like it when you guys talk. It it's nice not to be alone. Otherwise I would just be alone out here. Just me and God, and sometimes I forget about him. Yep, I do. Okay, let's go back in here. So how to rid yourself of emotional burdens. She talks about having a garbage bag. And there's all these emotional burdens we have. The guy that you don't like, and you don't want to think about it, so you press it down. So you put it in your garbage bag. And there's the way you're treated by the people in your family, and you don't want to get angry. You just suppress it. You just keep it down in the bag. And there's the guilt you feel because you haven't done right. You haven't done what you wanted to do, or you can't overcome the thing you think you need to overcome. But guilt is attached to forgiveness. You don't have to carry guilt. You don't. You just have to, wish you didn't do it and try not to do it. And the atonement of Jesus Christ is applied to your sin, to the thing that you are trying to become better at. And when he says, be thou perfect, being perfect is not me alone without sin. Being perfect is me sinning, repenting with him forgiving it. That is perfection. In that moment, it's the knowledge that we can't do it alone. We really need to tap into our higher power, and that God is always there, patient, accepting, and unconditional loving. He doesn't not accept us because we don't measure up. He always loves us, no matter how rotten we are, and how mean and deceitful and dishonest and selfish and all those things. He still loves us totally. Think of your child. When your child has got totally bad behavior, you still love them. You wish they would stop. You wish they would understand and change their ways. But you still love them. But they're, we personally get involved. We react. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful out there. Gonna have to turn it around so you can see too. How do I do that? Do I pull this? No, there's a button I have to push to turn it. But it's not easily accessible from here. I'll just pull it out. There we go. And I'll turn it around and hold it. And so you can see it the way I'm seeing it. So you are loved always. You are totally loved. And when you go to that quiet place inside, you can feel that love. You can always talk to God. You can always talk, and you are always heard and loved. And it's the greatest love. It's a perfect love. These wires, now that I pulled the wire, I wanted to get that black one up out of the snow. It didn't work. So now I got the wire in the way, but I'm not looking out that window much anyway. I'm looking this way. That's the second sneeze. Does this mean I'm getting sick? I wonder if that's why I've been so, hate to say tired, because when you say tired, I've been so sleepy, I guess. I have been quite without energy. But, oh, our branch president, hey there, church council today, weather. Yay. We don't have to worry that we're missing out on something or whatever. I wonder if you can see out this window better if I zoom in. Look at that. Wow. Don't you love it when it snows? Just so beautiful. You have to really take advantage of the moments when it looks like this. Now let me see if I can also show you this window. That's the way and beyond. And that line is the zip line. Isn't it gorgeous, Jeannie? When it comes down in tiny bits like that, it's -8 or something. Feels like -13 out there, Celsius. It's it accumulates very quickly. Are you having weather like this too? She said it's amazing. We don't normally get weather like this. I'm so grateful for winter. I used to live in near Listowel, between it was Brussels was our address. Moncrief. Ontario. And it's, oh, that's the tree by the, but you know, the snow is still not very much. Like those beds should be so full and the snow, the tops of those posts should just be barely visible. Hello. You agree with which? We're talking about a lot of things here. It's very beautiful. I'll turn you around so you can see the view I'm seeing. But you have to see it closer than that. That's my little entrance to this spot. So sort of a, oh, that'd be somebody phoning to say no church. It's just damp and cold and 44 degrees. Ugh. I don't like it when it's damp and cold. I like it when it's really cold and frozen and uh-huh. I knew it. He's very attentive to the telephone. Hi, darling. We just got a text that the church is canceled.
Oh, good.
Then we don't know. What?
You did a phone? You couldn't get a phone?
I didn't get the phone.
Oh, me either. Okay.
That's all right. They'll leave a message on the answer machine. I saw one of those, a muffler is what I called. Okay, so it is a muffler. Yesterday at Job Lots. I don't know what Job Lots is. The cat, I try and clean off the railing because the cat likes to run along the railing. It's a good day for a walk in the forest, isn't it? Hey, kitty. 19 degrees here in northern New Hampshire. Yes. Isn't it nice to live in the north? I just love it. But it's only nice if you're not in a town or a city. Snow in a town is really gross. It's all slushy and sloppy and black. But here it's so pretty, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to turn you around again. Can you see the snow falling? I do too. I love my deck. Thank you. I wish you all had a deck like this. I even have a ramp. Hey, you know what I did yesterday to get rid of the snow up there? Like the snow was curly. It was coming off the roof and it was like a foot and a half down and it had all these icicles which were now pointing inward at us. And so, come on, small. And so I went along with a wheelbarrow. I put the wheelbarrow under the spot, and then I took the curve, just a regular curved shovel, and I just chopped, and the snow fell into the wheelbarrow, and I moved the wheelbarrow ahead, and I chopped, and it fell in. It was so perfect. And now you don't have to shovel the deck. All I had to do was let it fall maybe 3 or 4 times, and then wheel the wheelbarrow over to the spot where I have a hole in the deck. I've loosened the railing slats so that I can just dump the snow and it'll fall through. Anyway, let's go back to this book. This is an awesome book. It's very old. Okay, so how to rid yourself of emotional burdens, why tension is necessary to every act and thought, how to make the most of your time. Now, some of the things about making the most of your time, like I'm sitting here looking out the window, but to make the most of my time, I'm also making a video. And she talks about things like if you have to do something repetitive, use your mind at the same time. Learn a second language while you're doing it. Listen to, like a lot of people do now, listen to podcasts when they're driving. Or I was told to write all those burdensome things down, put them in a box, kick the box, burn it. Yeah. it sounds good. I don't know how how it would really work. It almost is like you what after you've filled your garbage bag with all this crap, you know, you're pushing it down, you're pushing it down. There's also procrastination in there. Like every time you think about a thought of something you need to do, but you put it off, every time you do that, you're actually having to push harder in that bag to keep everything down. And after a while, the bag is so full and the fumes start to get you. And it's overwhelming. You know, it's like message overload. You just can't deal with it. There's too much. And so you have to take things out of the bag. The procrastination. If you think of yourself as having a battery, and if you're always having to avoid thinking about something, you know, like something huge that you find out that's just overwhelmingly huge, it takes 90% of your energy just to suppress thinking about that. In those instances, you need a happy thought, some wonderful happy thought that when the it goes around in your head over and over and over, then and you've got questions about it. Exactly what happened? How did this come to be? How could someone do this? When it goes around and around in your head, sometimes you have to 90% of your thing is suppressing it just to function, and it's in your head every time you're doing anything. You're doing the dishes, you're watching something, you're trying to read, you're trying to write, you're trying to sweep the floor or look out the window, and it always comes back. And so I would try and have a happy thought that I could go to and think about that instead. Intruding thoughts are horrible. I have to read my Bible and pray. Peace comes when I do that. Yes, that's a good way. Yeah, that's a really good way. But in the night when you're sleeping, or, you know, when you can't be doing that, when you can't be reading, and sometimes the praying, we're still just going around in our head, we're still on that topic. But if you can think of something else, something nice, something beautiful, but still you're avoiding that thought. Anyway, and so if you can accept things, like for instance, you might be aware of bad things that happen to children, and that might really bother you. This bad thing that happens to this child. Well, instead of focusing on how horrible this is, if you think about it from a God view, a big higher dimension, everybody has to deal with something. Everybody has to have trials in their life because that's the only way we really grow. We can't learn to be happy unless we've been miserable. You know, we don't learn to forgive unless people have harmed us. You know, we don't learn patience. Hey, not that chair. We don't learn patience unless we have stuff to that. Hey, you want to sit on my lap? Come on, up you go. Here you go. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Come sit on my lap. Just come sit up here. Kitty, kitty. Yes, I know you want to go out, but it's a lot of work. Oh, maybe I can let you out this door. Ugh. Ugh. Okay, out you go. Go, go, go. Are you out? Where are you? Just go out. Silly kitty. You want to just have a view? Oh, better hurry up or it's closing. Here it closes. Oh God. President Lucas called no church today because of weather. Thank you, thank you. But bad things happen to good people. If only bad people had bad things happen to them, it would be pretty easy to be good. You know, if you always had something bad happen to you when you did something wrong, you stop doing it, right? It's too easy. We didn't have faith. Wouldn't have to develop faith. But children, if you look back, most of us had a horrible childhood. Some people, hi, come on up, kitty kitty. Most of us have had a horrible childhood and had to learn to forgive people in our childhood. And we learn as we get older than our parents were when they did these things. We learn that, they were just like us. They too were figuring it out. You've never been a parent before. You've never had babies before. You've never had teenagers before. You've never been old before. Now, why are you wagging your tail and lying there with your eyes closed looking at me like you're happy as can be, but your tail is wagging? You're just waiting until I'll let you out, but enjoying getting petted in the meantime? Hold on. What's the plan at my house today? I must answer this. Hold on. Going today, well, since church is canceled, we're here, but it's snowing, but I think it's supposed to stop about noon or something, so the driving will be okay. It's only when the snow is coming down that the driving is too bad, and they're really good with snow plows. They snow plow and they salt the roads, so usually come along and do our road about 9 o'clock. What time is it now? 9:15. So this is about snowplow time, but it's a Sunday, so they might not come along so soon. Anyway, that'll be nice if they come. Okay, so I was talking about this awesome book. Ta-da! How to make the most of your time. So one thing that she said was to, I'll put you back up here, I guess. There. I started learning poetry while or memorizing scriptures. I would be plowing a field and you had to go a long way in the same direction pretty slowly, turn around at the end and come back, or go in a loop and come back, and you just kept doing this for hours, for the whole day. And it was not very interesting, and it was not very, I kept wanting to break it up and go halfway and then do something different. I got in trouble for that. You weren't supposed to waste gas on that. Anyway, that's when gas was cheap. So how to make the most of your time. So I would memorize things. Once when I took a long journey across the United States in my car, I had my hymn book and I just kept it open on the steering wheel, and I would glance at it and see the words of a verse, and then I would sing it, and I would sing the verse over and over. And I just did that until I had sung and kind of memorized all the hymns in the hymn book. And that was using your time. I mean, you don't do that now because you can't. That would be called distracted driving. But back then, there weren't as many people on the planet. When I was younger, I mean, the population doubles not maybe doubles, but anyway, the population does increase pretty quickly. And so the roads weren't so full of people as they are now. Like I-85, there's no way you could take your eyes off the road for a moment. But back then when I drove across the plains and there just weren't many cars on the road, and it was perfectly straight. You could glance down and glance up. It wasn't like when you're texting and you're going to keep focusing on responses. You just glance down and glance up. Almost like glancing at your mileage, or glancing in the other mirrors, Anyway, so how to make the most of your time is another thing she talks about. How to make new friends and keep the old ones. Why events move toward and into a stubbornly held dream. My dream was always to live in the woods. To have a place in the woods. And I didn't have that. I met a farmer and I married a farmer my first marriage, and I wanted to be I wanted to be, I thought it was awesome to be on a farm. I think I married him because he was a farmer and he was funny. I didn't realize how he had this very excited personality, really happy and jolly, but he was also had a very excited, angry side, like really get angry. And anyway, I wasn't very good at choosing. I was young, right? I was 21 or 22 or 3. Anyway, 21, I think. Why events move toward and into a stubbornly held dream. This is like affirmative thinking, I think, is what that relates to. Like when you people say, I am going to be prosperous, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be, you know, I think that if you dare to dream of something, we lose our dreams. We let go of them. We have, when we're young, anything is possible. You can be an astronaut. But then when we get into the reality of how much it's going to cost and to go to school and do we really have that way to pay that off? Or are, I really wanted to be a mother. And so I knew that I got to go to university because my parents paid for it. But I knew that I wasn't really interested in a career because the only career that I wanted was to be with children. I wanted a dozen children. I had 5. But I guess if you add up all the miscarriages, there were a dozen. I had 7 miscarriages and 5 children. So there we go. That was my dozen. How to make your work a vital part of your life. If you can find joy in doing something and interest in doing something, like if you have to put hands on a watch all day and that's your job. I had a job at GM or General Electric, GE, in Athens once. I had gone to visit my parents, but I didn't have money to go home, so I went and got a little job. They didn't want to hire me because I had a university education. They said I'm overeducated, and I said no, I want to do this anyway. So I worked there for about 5 weeks or something and got enough money, and then I quit and went home. Came back to Canada. But I'm just spacing out on the when I was in high school, there was a thing that went around about all these questions about high school, and one of them was what was your favorite what was your style? Well, I was a hippie at that time in my life, in grade 11, and so my style was long curly hair, and sometimes I'd wear a headband, a short scarf, and I'd tie it there so the headband thing hung there. And there were body suits you had, like there was a form-fitting top, and it snapped underneath, and so it was a one piece. Was that what one piece is? Anyway, so and I would wear that, or I would wear peasant blouses, that went like that, and they had short puffy sleeves, and they were embroidered or something across the front, Mexican peasant blouses. And I had hip hugger jeans. I had bought regular jeans, but they would come up. They were like this high, and from the crotch, and so I would turn them inside out and just sew the legs, so up the top of the leg and down, and so it pulled it down lower, so they were hip hugger. And I threw them in the wash with bleach, and so they suddenly became old and ratty. And then I patched them as time went on. And so I made it into a skirt, and so I had this blue jean skirt at one point. I loved that skirt. That was the best skirt ever. had a yellow panel in the front. You know, you open up the legs and you have to cut. There's the crotch part that so you have to cut all that so it becomes flat. And then I added this yellow panel. I just loved it. That was my favorite skirt, my favorite clothes. But anyway, but in high school I wore bell-bottom blue jeans, hip hugger jeans, and I would tie a scarf either on my wrist, a short scarf. The scarf was about that long. I would tie a scarf around my wrist. I guess it was like a bandana kind of scarf. I would tie it, and it had these little things that would hang off then, the ends. And sometimes I would tie it from my belt loop. Oh, and leather was all the big thing happening there. So there were belts, beautiful belts with different designs on them. There was a leather shop in town in Athens. There were all these awesome stores, head shops. They were awesome. Anyway, and my best footwear was bare feet. But I didn't always wear bare feet. I don't know what other kind of footwear I wore. Anyway, and when I wrote down that this was my style, that was really interesting too. I hung out with the hippies because they accepted me. The rest of the kids in school didn't accept me. I was different. I don't know. I asked a lot of questions in class. I liked learning. Didn't always make the best grades. I made pretty good grades. I never failed or got a D. I would get B's and C's. Meanwhile, my sister got straight A's, always straight A's. So I didn't feel like I was very smart because she always was better at it. She was way more academic. And then she became a professor and a scientist. And she's on that breakthrough cusp on anti-aging. It's interesting how many products. She said at one time she had a company and they were trying to develop a cream, an anti-aging cream. And now they're working on this pill that will remove all of the dead cells from your body so that your body is not continually breaking down anymore. That's the problem is when you're young, your body gets rid of the dead cells in all the organs. It's all new cells, always replacing. But then after a while, the dead cells stay there. They're still the good cells and the new cells, but the dead cells stick around and clog up the works, slow everything down. Anyway, so she's working on a pill for that. It's not snowing as hard anymore. What else does she say in this book? I love this book. I love it. You can get it on Amazon. If you go to the used books, that's where I always buy everything, is used books. I don't have Amazon Prime because all the books that were for sale on Amazon Prime cost more than the used books. And I never care if anything looks old because everything's going to get old, look old eventually, so whatever. How to make your work a vital part of your life. Oh yeah, so I was putting hands on clocks. And I started being curious about all these things about the clocks. And I worked at Campbell Soup later once and on the Pepperidge Farm line. I don't think you can buy Pepperidge Farm in Canada. I've never seen it in the stores. I don't think. It's a big deal in the United States, but I don't think they have it here. Maybe they do. How to put your subconscious mind to work. Your subconscious mind, your subconscious is written all over your face. It's the things that you don't realize that you do and the ways that you interact and perform, but other people can see it. It's like I laugh sometimes. There's people that are so full of pride. They're so full of themselves. And I just find them funny. And I love them. I think you are hilarious. I just think that, but they don't realize that they are full of themselves, buffoons, and every thought is about themselves. But to me, I find humor and joy in it. That's just the way they are. But they don't know that they're that way. So that's their subconscious. So your subconscious is written all over your face, but you can't see it. So how to put your subconscious mind to work? That's interesting. How to energize the people around you. I think that's what I do with my YouTube videos. Energize other people. Give other people the hints and tools on how to have fun, how to not be burdened down by everything, how to look at life so that life is a gas. How to hold or regain the freshness of youth. The idea that you can do things like making a grass hut. Nobody makes grass huts. Nobody. I mean, they do in other countries, third world nations, but not in first world nations, certainly not in Canada. I mean, you might get a manufactured grass hut that's made of manufactured layers. Even in Maui, they had grass hut tops, like little shelter things. And they're made with a woven manufactured thing they've got the grass all cut to the right size and it's all stitched perfectly. And then they just lay those panels on. But I like doing everything from scratch, right? You know me. Anyway, this book shows you how to live with vigor and enjoyment, how to double your energy and live without fatigue. I'm going to read some of the titles of the chapters. This really has affected my life. I read this when I was a teenager, as I said. Your fatigue habits. Do you say, oh, I'm so tired? And I have gotten that way. I've gotten into the habit of thinking I don't have any energy after about 2:30. Now, I've gotten that idea because I've watched myself and see that I'm more tendency to sit around after that time. Some immediate help. Oh, stop saying I'm tired and look at yourself. How many times a day do you say I'm tired? I can't. I'm too tired. Your excess baggage. Hi, Janie. You're still here. This book looks very interesting. I'm not really very productive like I would wish to be. This conversation is very timely for me. Cool. Good. I'm glad. There is a right and a wrong way to relax. Yes, if you're avoiding things, if you're relaxing, if you're just getting away from something, but when you're getting into something, I remember I used to run away from home all the time when I had little children, only a tiny bit. Like I would just go in the woods and sit. And I would take my journal and I would take my chair. I would put my journal in my folding chair with my pen and I would go out there. And some days I would put my camera in my pocket and I would just go sit in the woods. And I was running away, so I was relaxing out of a situation. But when I was there, I was relaxing into that situation. So it's hard to relax if you're just avoiding something. But if you're doing something you love while you're relaxing, then you're not really running away from it. The right tension. So sometimes throughout the day, I try to notice when I'm all, my muscles are tense and when my face is tense. And sometimes even lying in bed, I'll be thinking about things and then I'll notice the tension in my body. You know what I dreamed about last night? I dreamed that my house that I had grown up in, that it was sort of the children figured it was going to be willed to them. And one of the children had gone and sort of taken possession of it. And I was there fixing something. I think there was water. I had to remove lots and lots of water. And I was trying to do this. And then I realized that one of the children was down there, knowing full well about this, but letting it devalue the value of the property so that they could get it. And it was quite a little internal struggle I was going through. And and then I realized that I didn't even own it. That we'd already sold it. It was gone. It wasn't mine. What a relief that was. And then I was suddenly out of the picture of having to deal with the fact that one of the kids had taken possession of this property. We didn't own it. Case closed. Anyway, the right tension. So noticing when you're while you're doing the dishes, which muscles are tense that don't need to be. So often your shoulders or your face or your back. Oh, I was thinking of something today. You know, I was putting some cream on my back. My tailbone has been really bad lately. I thought maybe this chamomile. I thought maybe that would help. But you know, if you put it on your hand, you really have a hard time reaching backwards with your hand. So the thing to do is put the cream on the back of your hand. Suddenly you can reach around and rub your back, and you don't have to do anything wrong with your twisting your wrist around. Because your wrist doesn't completely twist around when you're trying to reach your back. But you can put the cream on your back of your hand, and then it's perfect. Just a hint. Somebody should be making a list of these hints. That could be your job. Energy is energizing your mind. Okay, wait a minute. So then the right tension. So there's difference in the wrong tension and the right tension. Energizing your mind. You know, and a lot of that is positive thinking. I can do it. I can create a grass hut. I can find the resources in nature. I can use branches, I can use sticks, I can use grass. I can accomplish this thing. I can make a basket out of cedar bark. I can take a cedar log with the bark on it, and I can make a basket out of it. I can make a basket out of some willow that grows. I can do it. I can. And because I think I can, I can. Now, see, there's a problem I'm having. I have all this birch bark. This happens to me every year. Got all this birch bark sitting out here and sitting out there, waiting to be made into something. Why don't I do it? Because I think I'm not going to finish it. Because I think the bark is not going to be the right size or shape, the usable bark. Then why do I have it? It must be usable, or I wouldn't have it. And if it's not usable in a whole piece, it can be made into birch bark strips. I have all this grapevines. Remember when I cut the grapevines last year? I cut them back, and I saved all the vines and I rolled them up. So I was thinking of taking them and laying them out on the table and putting them the similar sizes together and then making baskets with them. And I could use the birch bark to weave back and forth if I make birch bark strips. That would be very pretty, wouldn't it? Circles and birch bark going back and forth. Okay, energizing your mind. A lot of that is positive thinking. Okay, energy is yours by right. All you have to do, there's, you know my song, there's nothing better than a new idea, nothing better than a new idea. Oh, wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. You can create anything at all without making a mess. You can't create anything at all without making a mess. Oh, wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Oh, my mind is a factory and not a warehouse. My mind's a factory and not a warehouse. Oh, wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Oh, time, oh, time. Oh, time exists so that, no. Oh, time exists so that everything, no. Time is so everything doesn't happen at once. Time is so everything doesn't happen at once. So wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. Wisdom is the consolation prize for messing up. There's more verses that are being written. I have to figure out what they are. Anyway, so energy is yours by right. All you have to do is think positively, and the energy is there. You just breathe deep and think, I can do this. I got this. And for me, sometimes I have to hold the Savior's hand because it's just way too much. And I'm just like, oh no, they're coming over and the house is a mess. I want them to come over. I can't wait till they get here, but they're going to react to the mess. They're not going to enjoy it. So I need to clean it up so that they can have a nice, happy time while they're here. But it's too much. And so I have to hold the Savior's hand. And me plus him is 100%. Me by myself, sometimes it can be pretty good, maybe 90%, but sometimes it's like 5%. But me plus him is 100%. And if he's helping me, I can do it. It's similar to having a video on. If I've got a live video on, I will stick with the project much longer than if I don't. And I will do things that I think might be of interest to you. Or because you're with me, I feel like I should show you things, or I should do something, or say something of value instead of just right here and ignore you and write in my journal, which I really should do. Okay. Preparing oneself for social obligations. Now that's interesting. There have been times that I've been invited to things and things that are going on that I usually have been part of, like Mira, which is the creative stuff. But when I think about going, I have a negative view. I think about sitting around the table with people that are having a conversation about things that are not interesting to me. But what about if I were to change that around and think, who can I be interested in? Maybe I should be interested in their life. Like, I would like to go out and have people interested in my life. But maybe, it's not all about me, obviously. What about if I looked at it like, why don't I go and find out what they're interested in? And be the person that they need to have somebody interested in them, right? So preparing yourself for social obligations. Because sometimes those obligations, my friend who looks at the calendar and says that I have something every day and I can't stand it. I want some time to myself. But if you prepare yourself for a social obligation, like at church, after church is over, often I'll look around. I don't really have anything in common with most of the people, and I really don't feel like talking to them, and so I go home. But lately, I'm finding that, like after Relief Society, which is the women, all the women are in this group together, and after it's over, there's a tendency now for people to just hang around and talk. and we'll hang around and talk for an hour. And often, people get in little groups because we're not in cliques, because we're all so different from each other. There's not two or three of us that are the same that are a block. So we're all in different. So we have to just all reach out to be friends with each other. One's a school teacher, one stacks shelves in stores, one is a farmer and raises dogs, and one is aging and stays in bed most of the time, and one works at a local store, like a dollar store or something, and another one reads and searches religion and truth, and just searches it totally, and wants to talk about it all the time. Another one is married, they're retired, and none of us really have things in common with one another except the gospel. But it's interesting to try and find things that we have in common with each other. Like one of them that's a teacher also has chickens, and she has tiny chickens like my daughter has. So now we have something. I raise chickens, so we have something in common. And there's raised garden beds, and so there's gardening is in common there. This other person who's stacking shelves, um, just interesting to hear about her life and what it's like for her, all the driving. She sees her driving much differently than I would. Oh, I have to go there and work for 10 hours. That's very far. And then, but I would love the drive, especially in the north through the snow and these back roads to these small towns. Anyway, so preparing oneself for social obligations. So instead of letting myself just say, okay, we're done, I'll go home. Not that there's anything to do at home. Nothing on a Sunday afternoon, just sit around, and I try not to work on Sundays. I try to spend it as a day of rest, focusing on the Savior, but you can only focus on the Savior so much, I find, and I have to do things. I have to get up and physically do things. Anyway, but so if you prepare yourself ahead of time that you're going to sit around and hang out with people, and you think about the people that are in the room, think about the questions that you can ask them. Like whenever I meet somebody, I always ask, where do you live? And I want to know what house they live in. So then I picture on their behalf what road they drive all the time and where do you work. So I see where they go to work and what kind of thing they're spending their time doing, and then what they're doing at home. Do you have children? Are you, do you have hobbies? What kind of stuff do you do in your time off? A lot of people watch Netflix or YouTube or something now. Of course, it was cable. It's nice not to have television anymore. It's nice to have access to all these things that are on the internet. Anyway, so prepare oneself for social obligations, like the family is coming over, maybe the family that you don't get along with or something. And prepare yourself. How are you going to react when they say something that you don't usually like to hear? I remember my children would try and change me all the time. Mom, you're always doing this. Mom, don't do that. Don't put that there. Looks terrible there. Don't put it there. Put it here. I want it there. I want it here. They were always changing me. But if you prepare yourself for that, like it doesn't happen anymore. But like preparing yourself for social obligations. So my son didn't know what they're going to do today. They may come over. They may not. They may come over and ski. They may ski in town. They might not ski at all. I suggested that because we have so much snow, I could snowshoe at first and then they could ski behind, and then they wouldn't be up to their calves in snow while they're trying to ski. But if I prepare myself for that ahead of time, it would also, like a lot of people are very good at preparing. They're always thinking ahead, like, oh, well, on Wednesday, such and such is going to happen. So I'm going to go to the store. It's Monday today. I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get all this stuff and I'm going to do all this stuff. I've got Monday and Tuesday and then Wednesday it happens. So I'm going to get all these things prepared. You know, I'm going to make food for it, blah, blah, blah. I just was thinking that we started making cookies yesterday because I used to love making cookies. I can't eat it, but I really like making them. It's just something simple and easy. You go and you get the butter or the margarine. You get, I used to use it in a container, put it in the bowl. You add 2 containers full of sugar. You add a dump of molasses. You keep mix that all together. Then you add 4 eggs. Then you add get that all mixed together. Add a little vanilla or lemon juice. I usually use lemon juice, and then you add your flour or your oatmeal. First, chocolate chips, mix them in, add the flour, add just a little bit of flour with the baking soda and some salt. Never use salt, but salt is kind of nice in there. And you end up with 4 cups of flour just by dumping it in until it's the right consistency, with the right texture. And then you just put it out on the cookie, put it in the oven, and then you have cookies. Like making cookies for me was like every day I made cookies for years. Some of my kids really like cookies, which made them get pretty big. I got pretty big. Now I don't eat cookies, so I don't make them. But it was fun and Maya liked to just stir the ingredients together. She's not interested in eating them either. Anyway. Oh. What is your Mount Everest? Climate. So that was all preparing oneself for social obligations. So I have those cookies that are almost ready. I just have to cook them. What is your Mount Everest? Climate. See, I have a little saying, which is do something every day that scares you. What is your Mount Everest? Climate. What is my Mount Everest? Sometimes it's walking on Cindyland. I don't walk on Cindyland. It's too much work. It's too hard. And maybe that's my Mount Everest. And going through the, snowshoeing is pretty difficult. There's times that I don't do these things when it's damp and rainy. I don't go out much when it's like that. But I have rain gear so that I can. It is nice to be out in the rain if you're dressed so that you're not damp or cold or wet. You can do that. There is weatherproof stuff. What else is your Mount Everest? The stuff you avoid doing? The stuff you procrastinate out of? I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do it today. Like for me, it's almost like a Mount Everest to make birch bark containers. Instead of thinking I'll bring some in and make something, why don't I think I'm going to make the whole pile? I'm going to turn that whole pile of birch bark into stuff. That's the purpose of it all, right? It's to all be turned into stuff. So once I start thinking that way, I can work on it. I've already flattened it. It's all nice and flat. Sometimes it's drying bananas. There's all these bananas sitting around changing color, and they should be dehydrated. And the best thing to do is to decide to do the whole project. I'm just going to do the whole thing. And then it seems like I can make a block of time to just do the whole thing. Like I said to the other day that I'll go and get my birch bark book, and I made every birch container in there except the last one, the cylinders. And now I've got all this stuff to make cylinders. But I can't remember exactly how you do it. But I think that as I start to do it, I'll remember. I've watched a few videos on making birch bark cylinders. They're in Russian, so I can't hear them. And the Russian subtitles are in Russian, so I can't, if there were subtitles, I think there might have been, or they might have been in Swedish, the subtitles for the Russian video. But I can watch it, And I don't need to hear it because I can see what they're doing. Why does he have to tell me what he's doing? There is background that's useful. Anyway, so that's what I need to do. I need to put the book down there. You remember, if you go in here to making birch bark stuff, there's probably 300 videos on here about it. And I would take one project and I would make a video. They were 10-minute videos at that time. You couldn't make anything longer. And I would make a 10-minute video and another 10, so it might take 10 videos to make this item, so they're all there. But I went through that whole book, and that whole book is on here on YouTube, making plated birch bark. So you cut birch strips like 20 inches long, 20 inches long, and then you end up only making something that's using 10 inches of it, like 3, 4, and 3, and then you take all that leftover. It's not going to get cut off. It's all gets woven all the way back through, and this one gets woven all the way back through. So in the end, it's three layers thick. Anyway, I mean, I could do that again. I could use that book again and do it. Why not? I want to do new things, though. I don't really like doing the same thing I've done before. I was at Scarlett's the other day, and we watched a video on the history of gourds. And this is I love my waterfalls, right? This is really an awesome gourd. Look at that painting there. Look at that. Look at this pathway. This pathway that goes through. And the flowers in the woods. This is really an awesome gourd. And the waterfall, of course. I love waterfalls. It's got some holes in here that were just that way. Oh, and there's even a squirrel here, or a chipmunk. Wow, I didn't realize this is, and there's another chipmunk here. And here's another one of some sort here. And are there birds up here in the top? Birds fly. This is really a beautiful place. Don't you want to go and explore that place? Go walk up that path? A lot of it is green. But it has all those seeds are inside it, which I could take out and plant. Do you know that you can put a gourd in salt water for about a year, and the seeds inside will still be viable? That's how gourds transverse the whole planet. But anyway, this is quite inspiring to see these little chipmunks and things I've painted in here. Oh, this is a log. This is really well done. I'm an artist. Wow. So I have a bag of gourds under the deck. There's about 20 gourds in there. I could do more gourds. Anyway, so what is your Mount Everest? The thing that you've read about doing, you'd like to do, but it's going to be a lot of work. Now, one problem with starting a new project is some people think that you have to do the whole thing today. So when I say I'm going to do all the projects in the book, that just means it's going to sit on the table for a few months while I do all the projects in the book. And there's something interesting. You want to get through this one so you can do the next one. And so it motivates you to keep doing it because there's a goal is to do the next one and the next one. But I got to the last one in the book, which was slippers, and there was not, well, the one left was, I think the slippers, I never got the slippers right, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And it's too small anyway, so it's just a little slipper. The cat is sitting in front of the heater. Oh. All right. So what is your Mount Everest? Climb it. Okay, let's climb this Mount Everest of birch bark. Let's get all the birch bark, bring it all in, look them all over, and decide what to do with each one, and then start and make something out of everything. That's a challenge, isn't it? Make something out of all of it. Some of it is useless, and in that case, it should not be there. But even the useless pieces, you might have a circle out of it. You might be able to cut a circle and have a little spiral hanging down. So that would be my challenge, to find things to do out of birch bark. You know, I've made little tiny birch bark canoes and birch bark stars. So I'll just have to have my imagination on and think about what this shape could, what shape could I get out of this piece? If it's determined to split, if there's lintels everywhere splitting, then I should just make it strips out of it. Cut with the lintels, go with what you have, right? I walk by that pile of birch bark and it's like, anyway, I'll have to do that. Okay, so what is your Mount Everest? Climb it. Turning the years back. Now I don't know what that is. Turning the years back. I don't think it's good to live in the past. I think it's good though. I am so glad I have over 18,000 videos. I think I'm going to try and watch a lot of them. Maybe I'll watch one a day. Should I do that? Or 2 a day? And I'll 18,000. If I watch 2 a day, I'm going to get through 9,000 of them. It'll take 9,000 days to watch them all. But if I watch them, I will have memories. I don't have to watch all of them, because like making a birch bark basket, you don't have to watch making the whole basket. And I have these baskets that I've made, you know, or I've given them away. I wonder if I have paintings done on there. Did I oil paint on there? Maya was looking around the house the other day and she says, "Grandma, did you make all of the baskets?" And I said, "Yeah." Which is very cool. I'm glad I've done that. Okay. Turning the years back. That's page 122. I don't know what that was about. 111. 122. Oh, not 222. 122. I don't listen to sometimes I say the word as I read it. Here it is. Turning the years back. How to hold or retain the freshness of youth. Vigor, endurance, tirelessness. These are all the attractive features of youth to those who may have found them wanting. Not everyone wants to look like a college boy or girl, but we would certainly like to keep in excellent repair, to look fresh and to feel strong. Nature's great preoccupation is creativity. As we have already noted, nature seems interested only in the new creation. In animate and inanimate objects, she appears almost to want to seek disintegration. Since there is a tendency for all established things to slide into ruins unless they are very well tended, we must learn to deal with this tendency. Isn't that interesting? You're right. Like a tree that's growing is always new leaves, new branches, new curbs. But a tree that is dead or laying flat, that doesn't move, is crumbling into disintegration. There's the living and the decaying. So as we age and our bodies can do less and less, are we decaying? Sometimes I have felt like, you know, I just have this many more years on earth. So it's just a matter of passing time till they are gone. Those are my depressed times. But really, if we sit around and do nothing, we are decomposing, we are decaying. We can't do as much. And sometimes it hurts a bit to keep active, to keep moving. My mother-in-law, who is 94, has a policy of not sitting down for too long. Some people never sit down. I can't do that because my back will give me too much pain. But I can snowshoe. I can work and stop and work and stop and work and stop, especially outdoors. Mostly it's exploring and being curious. If you could be curious, if you can hold on to that feeling of curiosity, what is out there behind that tree? You know, you get used to seeing the view and it's a pretty view, but do you ever walk into that view? Do you ever explore that view? Can you imagine? I look at these trees, I have certain memories of these trees. I'll turn this around and show this to you for a minute. So I have certain memories of these trees. First of all, I have the memory of building this deck. Those trees, when we built the deck, were like this big. There was a center, you know, and they went to here and went to there. And now they go way up there. So there's one ring every year. So to get to this part, they're probably already a few years old. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And that top part is the new growth from last year. So next year it's going to be that much taller. So this is 13 years old now. And the deck has been here for about 8 years, 7 years. So half of that tree wasn't here, right? So when this deck was built, the branches did not extend under it, over it. They may have, yeah, I guess they extended over it just a little bit. But now they're at least twice as long as they were then. So I have memories of the deck and being out there, and I have memories of walking into this little area, this little opening between there, and walking through there and digging up roots from these trees, the tiny roots from my birch stuff. And oh, that's a problem with my birches. I won't have enough roots, but I have other things I can use. And then I put a feeder out there at one point in the middle of it. So the birds were out there. That was nice to see. It was a good place for a bird feeder, but then I can't let this cat out. See where I've got this thing now? It's a pretty good spot. Really good thing to have. And what else? I have memories of the other side of this. You know, I mow into the middle of this. It looks like you can't get in that way, but you can. But the branches are getting pretty close. Mom? Out? Out? Wanna go out? 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 I'll open it for you, but I don't think you're gonna like it out there. Because there's too much snow. This is the table he was scratching on before. Here you go. Want to go out? Out, out, out. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, and he wants to come in. Well, you can stay out. You can make do. This is what you wanted. Grandson is playing Minecraft now. I should probably play Minecraft with him. But I'm not doing that right now. I'm doing this. Marjorie Wilson's book and how it has affected my life. So let me go through this, turning the years back. So nature's great preoccupation is creativity. Nature's movement is forward. You know, in Jamaica, the Rastafari have a saying that's forward ever, backward never. And so when they're leaving, they don't say goodbye. They say, I soon forward, which means I'm going to come back soon. But they don't say back. Again, as already noted, nature has spread before us the few but very strict rules by which we can put off the disintegrating process in ourselves. We must put ourselves where nature's forward-moving forces and laws can operate to our advantage. We may not oppose the way nature works. We have seen that a clean cell, which is also well fed, can endure limitlessly. Isn't that interesting? We have seen that we must obey the physical laws of that cell, but we must also attend to the emotions and ideas that color its ambience. Move. A young muscle is resilient because it has been fed that which is needed. It has been and has had sufficient movement to keep it pliant and to agitate its debris out of it. What do we learn from this? Exactly, move. Probably the most difficult lesson our children learn is to keep still. Somewhere along the line, we overdo it and become dangerously inactive. Watch children, they skip down the street. Why don't you wait until after dark and skip with them after dark? Oh, you're afraid of what other inactive, stodgy friends would think of you. Of course, one can get a skipping rope and use it on the back porch. But just how does one go about accompanying that with the feeling of joyousness the children obviously feel when they skip? I'm afraid one without the other might get the same fractional result. So do the next best thing and turn on some music and skip to a too much inaction. Rich food, alcohol, and gradual dissipation. The inaction is probably the worst of the lot. The next would be the food. Take responsibility for your state of health and take it now. So this is turning the years back. Water. A right royal preparation. Few of us can carry our necessities with us, as I was told the royal family of Afghanistan did when they arrived in New York and took over a whole floor of the Waldorf in order to have their goats and geese with them. The king and his retinue would not go anywhere if they couldn't have their goat cheese, fresh and wholesome, right at hand. But thanks to growing desire of our supermarkets to serve us, we can get our most exotic and special requirements from them, trundle them out in those helpful metal baskets, and proceed on our healthful way. Our every need is met. Special diets can be delicious today. Be a friend to yourself. Androceles and the lion. Higher emotions bring health. Self-discipline, a giant's job. Take the high road. The view is better at the top. Choose well the foods for your body. The embryo. Immature produce such as bean sprouts and tender peas. Some virtue in some raw vegetables. A 2-minute salad. Marlene Dietrich cooks at night. Large amounts in advance. A successful brunch. All right, you get the idea. Protein problems. Anyway, so let's talk about this more again, okay? But for now, I must go because family first. I love you guys. Maybe we'll read this book together. It'll take forever. It'll take 1,000,000 videos, but why not? Why don't we read it together? Double your energy. 1. Double your energy. 2. Double your energy. 3. Or maybe it has to say 1. Double your energy. 2. Double your energy. And we can get through this book together. So let's do that.
And I'm going to get all the birch bark and I'm going to put it on the table and I'm going to start making birch bark stuff. I'm going to find a use for everything and I'm going to make it into something. Okay, so we're going to give up our, what is it called? We're going to climb our Mount Everests, okay? I can do it. You can do it with me. We can do this together. Okay, I better walk around the house once and then I got to call back my grandson. I love you guys. Bye. See, I got to walk around the house once to get my body going. So if I sit here, I'll decompose. Bye. Oh, wait. Somebody said something that I didn't respond to. Your gourd is beautiful. My neighbor makes birdhouses from gourds. You are an artist. I know. Isn't that fun? I'm so glad. Okay, love you guys. Remember, you saw it here last, and you can sing my song at home. You can even share my song, but it's mine. I get the money from it if it ever makes any money, but I don't know if it ever will. Bye.